But India has remained firm. Its relationship with Russia is historical and multidimensional and is not subject to external veto. Strategic autonomy here means refusing to choose sides in others' binary contests. That partnerships must be based on interest rather than sentiment or inherited bias. India's is, I would argue, diplomacy with a spine. Assertive, pragmatic, and unapologetically Indian. India's relationship with Russia, which is all in the news these days with President Putin's imminent arrival, is shaped by Cold War solidarity and long-standing defense cooperation. Despite Moscow's growing proximity to Beijing and its global isolation after the Ukraine conflict, India has maintained its engagement. It continues to buy some oil, to import critical defense equipment, and to converse diplomatically. This stance has invited criticism from the West, from both Washington and Europe. But India has remained firm. Its relationship with Russia is historical and multidimensional and is not subject to external veto. Yes, India diversifies its defense imports and strengthens indigenous production, but it does so without abandoning old partners. Strategic autonomy here means refusing to choose sides in others' binary contests. During India's G20 presidency in 2023, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also asserted that India had emerged as the voice of the global South. He described India's democracy as a bouquet of hope, strengthened by its multicultural and multilingual character. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar has argued that partnerships must be based on interest rather than sentiment or inherited bias. India's is, I would argue, diplomacy with a spine. Assertive, pragmatic, and unapologetically Indian. It seeks to be non-West without being anti-West. And it resonates across the global South, where rising and middle powers increasingly prioritize their own geopolitical and economic interests rather than be swept into great power rivalries. They seek agency, not alignment. Voice, not vassalage. What emerges, therefore, from all of this is a vision of India as a sovereign pole in a rebalancing world, a nation that neither aligns blindly nor withdraws into isolation. Yet even as India pursues its strategic autonomy with principle, it faces significant headwinds. The global economy is deeply interdependent. Technological systems are dominated by a few countries. Defense modernization requires partnerships. Climate diplomacy demands coordination. Autonomy must therefore be understood not as isolation, but as resilience and adaptability, and indeed as multi-alignment. We must also recognize that domestic factors matter. This has been an increasing theme of my own articles on the subject. Political polarization, economic vulnerabilities, and institutional constraints can limit limit effective decision-making and force us into defensive options rather than give us the kind of leverage we need at the negotiating table. True strategic autonomy requires domestic economic strength, technological capability, and political coherence. We cannot be truly autonomous from a position of weakness. And in today's world, shaped by cyber threats, artificial intelligence warfare, space competition, the scope of autonomy must expand. It must encompass data sovereignty, digital infrastructure, and secure supply chains.